when I build software and look to basically systematize, break things down, we have a tendency to overcomplicate a lot of things, right? What can get us 80, 90% of the way there, at least in the first go, or maybe 50%, like prove the concept, prove that we can do it, using automation, then build the feature sets that we want on top of it. And when we do that and we stack all of these component parts on top of our system, on top of the initial thing that we built, and then stack features on top of that, then we can get to that 80, 90, 98%, right? And always remember that there's going to be outliers. There's going to be things that we didn't see coming, we don't deal with very often, and they're going to be outliers to the system. So is to not overcomplicate, the base systems that we put in place. Because in overcomplicating that, like, one, it's going to take much longer to put a system in place that's viable. Two is, like, how often are you going to really run into those edge cases? You'll deal with them when they come up. Now, if they continually repeat themselves, then you'll deal with them. But it's to understand that, like, those edge cases are edge cases, right? They don't always pop up. They're not always there. So understanding that when they do arise, you'll deal with them then. But you don't need to change your entire system and way of operating to deal with not the normal situation. So as we move forward, as we progress, we want to understand that a system doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be big and massive. Like in the construction industry, like, yes, we're going to have a lot of parts. We're going to have a lot of systems in place throughout, like, the entire process. We don't put more than needs to be there, right? Like, have references that people can go to and then, dig into that for those edge cases, for those complex issues, right? Have those resources. And again, you'll build those when you get to them. But for the majority of things, like, look at the 80, 90% that you do and systematize those, right? The last 10, 20% of items, of things that come up, of issues that come up on a project. Yes, make a list, compile them, put them somewhere as references, as guides, if they ever come up again, so that, it's documented and a solution is available to everybody, right? This around documentation, which I know, is like a 4-letter word around here, but it's important to have that type of documentation so that you're able to go back and reference it for a later date. So don't overcomplicate things. Get it through that 80, 90% level. And that'll deal with the majority of issues. Again, we're a big industry, deal with 80, 90% chunks for most everything. Your life will be better because of it.